Humberto Castellero, and I am the Traffic Engineering Manager for Public Works. Good evening and welcome to the Biltmore Shores WebEx meeting. For some of you, perhaps it might be the first time using this type of media for public meetings. I want to rest assure you that all your questions are going to be answered. You can type, there's a chat box where you can type your comments, or you can wait towards the end of the presentation and ask your questions. So this is going to be similar to a face-to-face meeting. Again, this is our contact information. So Humberto Castellero, so you have my contact information. Also, I have here with me Mr. Gerald Marks Jr. He's our project manager for the traffic calming and the access management, and he will be your point of contact in terms of talking about the different options that we're going to be presenting to you. So for today, existing traffic conditions, we have gotten several concerns from the community. The Commissioner Bonilla sent us the emails in terms that some of your concerns are of cut-through traffic, just going through your neighborhood. Also, you have been experiencing speeding through your streets, as well as perhaps some unsafe conditions in terms of as you're walking with your dogs or riding your bikes, that you think that it is unsafe because of the out of the neighborhood traffic that is going through your neighborhood. So that is something that we will try to address as part of our presentation. So for the presentation overview, we will talk about the existing traffic conditions in terms of the neighborhood. We will talk about the need for traffic calming and the access management. We have several options that we're going to present to you. I just want to tell you that this is not all or nothing, but there is an iterative process in terms of how we can go about it, and also that we can have what we call a pilot project, that we can have sort of a mock-up in terms of installing some traffic controls just for you to be able to experience what eventually is going to be the permanent traffic control solution for you. In terms of the traffic calming measures, we are going to be talking about speed humps. You do have 3 speed humps within your neighborhood. I have some pictures. I believe that they have been installed long time ago, and that they might not be in the best shape or condition, and that they are in need of replacement. Also, we will talk about traffic pattern changes and access management. And what I mean by that is that the transportation grid of your neighborhood is a two-way direction. So every road that you travel, you can travel in both directions, but there might be a possibility that we might change some particular segments within your neighborhood to a one-way, and that will be able to restrict some of the cut-through traffic. Access management also is going to be in conjunction with that perhaps we can have some raised islands that we can deter. That will be a physical barrier to deter either exiting or entering in some of the major points accessing your neighborhood. We will talk also about a multi-way stop control. As part of that, there are some requirements for us to consider it, but we will explain to you if that is also a feasible option. And last but not least, we will talk about signal improvements at Edgewater, Drive, and Fairbanks. Both of these corridors, they belong to the DOT, but they carry an enormous amount of traffic. Edgewater, there is approximately about 25,000 vehicles per day, and Fairbanks, about 35,000 vehicles per day, which it means that there's a lot of traffic, and if they have to go to the signal and they do not see a relief and they have to wait for too long, the option might be just to go through your neighborhoods and to cut the traffic. So we have prepared for you is 3 options with various iterations. At the end of the presentation, once we present them to you. You will have the opportunity for feedback to see which one is the one that you prefer. We can have some ballots, and Gerald is going to be explaining a little bit more, so you don't have to worry too much about giving us the feedback right now, but there will be a process where we will be mailing some information for you so you can think about which one would be the best option for you. You can talk to your neighborhoods. I strongly suggest that if you have a champion within your neighborhood or somebody that can be the voice, and you can talk to that person so that person can collect your opinions, your suggestions, that will certainly work very well in terms of the communication through one channel. And then last but not least, what are the next steps? So let's talk a little bit about Biltmore Shores subdivision. So it is accessed via Edgewater Drive, and you have two side streets. You have John Place, and also you have Sherrington Road. So John Place is to the south, and Sherrington Road is closer to the intersection. And then you have access via Fairbanks Avenue and Shorecrest Drive. Via Fairbanks Avenue and Shorecrest Drive and Coronado Drive, Shorecrest Drive being closer to the intersection, and then Coronado Drive a little bit to the west. And I have some maps that I'm going to be presenting this information. So the traffic circulation within your subdivision just conforms to a residential grid pattern. So there's nothing different or special about the subdivision. It's just the way it is. You have your homes, you have your roads, and then you have access to your residence. And that is through the grid pattern. For the traffic control, what is being used is stop signs, and the stop signs are usually at the minor size streets. So within some of them, for instance, Shorecrest, it is considered a major road. So whatever it is about Shorecrest, that will be a side street like Sherrington Drive. So any side street will have a stop control. The roads are paved, and they're 20 feet wide, and they're one lane in each direction, which it means that you can travel both ways. There's no double yellow striping within the neighborhood, which sometimes it is an issue because then people are driving on the opposing side, or maybe they're trying to speed. So perhaps one of the options will be to put some double yellow in the center of the road, a double yellow center line, so traffic will be more inclined to be traveling within the travel lane. The existing drainage through your neighborhood, it is conveyed through shallow swells, and there's no sidewalks within your facilities. So just looking at the aerial, so here you can see, and let me just, so I have a laser point. So you have the Edgewater that is to the west. You have the intersection, Edgewater and Fairbanks, and then you have Fairbanks. Both of these roads, they belong to the DOT. As I mentioned, Edgewater, it carries 25,000 vehicles per day. This is a 5-lane section, which it means that you have 2 lanes in each direction, and then you have a center lane that is a dual left-turn lane. Similar thing is happening within Fairbanks, that is a 5-lane. So the majority of the traffic, if they want to connect and go from one to the next, they will have to come to the signal, which, in my opinion, there must be some improvements to the signal just to provide for additional signal timing, as well as some queuing for the left turning movements and also for the right turning movements. So let me go to the next slide, which it shows a much better picture and presentation. So here you are. So this is a little bit more clear. So Edgewater, you have John Place. So this is the first entrance if you're traveling northbound. Let me just mention also that you have several critical origin and destinations near to your neighborhood, and that is regarding schools. So south of your neighborhood, you have the Morning Star School. You also have the St. Charles Borromeo Catholic School. You have the Bishop Moore Catholic High School. You have the Edgewaters High School, and also you have the Lee Middle School. So it might not be the buses taking the kids to schools, but if somebody's driving and some of these kids that they live within the neighborhood, perhaps they might be more inclined also to be able to go through your neighborhood. So your first access through your neighborhood without going through the signal is the jump place if you're traveling northbound. And then if you miss that entrance, perhaps then you will go to the Sherrington, that you can have that access. So through Sherrington, you can continue all the way to Coronado, and then you can go to Fairbanks. From Jump Place, you can go on Shorecrest, then you go to Biltmore, you can connect to Coronado, and you do the same thing, and vice versa. If you're traveling on Fairbanks, going westbound, you can enter through Coronado, and then go through Sherrington, or you can go the opposite way, or you can go to Shorecrest. So there are 4 access points that perhaps people that they're familiar with the community, that they're familiar with your neighborhood, that they will be able to access this entrance and exit to your neighborhood. And so that's why perhaps you might be experiencing some of the speeding, some of the cut-through traffic, and feel a little bit unsafe. Let's continue. So let's talk about the speed humps. You do have 3, but what is the value of the speed humps, and if this is something that you would like to consider? For instance, speed humps. So they are appropriate for residential local streets, which you have 3. They're usually used on a single lane, which is either one way, or you can use it on a 2-lane, 2-way street. That is the reflection of your roadways. It is appropriate if posted speed limits are 30 miles per hour or less, and it will reduce the speeds to 15 to 20 miles per hour. The typical volume reduction in terms of the efficiency is 20% that it has been observed for cut-through traffic, but you only have 3. You don't have more to go through the rest of the neighborhood. Still, it is a good option for emergency vehicles that they can cross safely the speed humps at low speeds, and there is no discomfort to users while walking and riding over the speed humps. So this is a viable alternative that perhaps it can be considered. Okay, let me just, there's something happening with my, okay. All right. So here you have some of your existing speed humps. So you have the one on the left is a Shorecrest. So you do have some pavement markings. They're severely worn out. You see the speed hump, that there is some cracks. It doesn't show the contrast with the roadway. So it has had a lot of use, and also the signs are missing. On the right, you have the one on Sherrington. Usually the pavement markings are also worn out. I don't even see them. The signs are missing, and you see that there's some alligator cracks on the roadway. One of the things that we do is that for us to replace some of the existing speed humps, we usually wait for the resurfacing program. So, Gerald, if you can take a look at the resurfacing program and see where we are in the cycle length. If it is too long before, then we might take action into our own hands and replace them sooner rather than later as part of the whole strategy. But we know that they're worn out, paper markings, there's no signage, and that the speed humps, there might need to be replaced soon. So on the next slide, you see the design of a speed hump. So pretty much On the top, you can see that it spans through the travel lane, and it crosses both travel lanes, and the span is 12 feet in length, and it has a parabolic shape. It has 3 inches high at the highest point, and then on the bottom figure on plan view, you can see that there are some pavement markings, and we do complement this with some additional signing as part of the work orders when we are ready to install them. So this is the design that we use. There's some color contrast that we have, correct?
Well, the color contrast for their terracotta brick color with the it's a terracotta brick color with the striping that we have there, the reflective striping that shows the arrows, and it shows it gives reflectivity for cars, vehicles approaching at nighttime.
Yes, so it's not only the asphalt, but there is also some color contrast on the speed hump, and also we don't have these the markings which they're white. So the next options that we have, and this is kind of a combination, is so we're starting going a little bit more into shifting some of the traffic patterns and also restricting some of the access control. And granted, we are going to provide to you at the end, when we have gone through all the options, then we have aerials with all the different options that we can consider and talk about it. So there is no need to be concerned. So we have the two-way streets, which that is what is currently in your neighborhood. So the benefit is that it provides a convenient traffic flow and management access to the residents, but also it is convenient for cut-through traffic use. So as long as people can maneuver through your neighborhood and there is a road that they can connect, they will tend to find their own way. So one of the options that we are looking at is perhaps to have some one-way streets, but just at specific locations. It's not going to be through the whole neighborhood, but at the major entrance and exits, so to speak. So what will this do for you? It will divert traffic to specific entrance and exit points through the neighborhood. This will discourage the cut-through traffic, but it will impact access to the residents in a certain manner or way. So this is something that the neighborhood will have to consider if this is something that you will be willing to entertain. And then in addition to this one way, we will have some traffic islands or some pork chops that you have. So when we are restricting the traffic, not only we will have signs, but we will have a physical barrier just to make sure that people cannot go through or exit. So that will be depending on the type of option that we are going to be presenting to you. This is used as a specific entrance and exit points to discourage people from driving through the neighborhood. So, of course, we're going to make it very conspicuous and visible with signs. There's going to be reflective markers. So we just want to make sure that not only people that they are not familiar with the neighborhood, that they are safe, and that this is not going to be a cause of concern for safety, either for your neighborhood as well as for people that they are unfamiliar trying to access your neighborhood. The other option was the multi-way stop control. I know that some of us says, well, what is the big deal in starting these stop signs? Just go ahead and put the additional 2 and we're done and we're finished. But unfortunately, for the use of a multi-way stop control, we need to go through and study and analysis, because when they are installed, when they are not warranted, what it means is that people are going to be disregarding them. And if we do it in one neighborhood and it is not warranted, then this is a slippery slope. More neighborhoods are going to, the county is going to be liable if there is a crash or there is accidents. So not only we have to talk about the safety, we have to talk about enforceable traffic controls, but also we have to make sure that there's not a crash that is going to be a fatality, but also that what we install is the right traffic control at the right location, and that this is vetted based on traffic analysis. So this can be useful as a safety measure at intersections if certain traffic conditions exist. We know that safety concerns associated with multi-way stops include pedestrian, bicyclists, and all road users expecting other road users to stop. So it has to be at the right place. It is usually used when the volume of traffic on the intersecting road is approximately equal. Otherwise, people are going to be disregarding the stop signs because it's going to be unnecessary in their mind. And there's a decision to install multi-way stop control should be based on an engineering study meeting volume, delay, and crash warrants. And this is not only that we do here in Orange County, but this is based on federal law. So we have to make sure that before this is installed, the warrants are met. Otherwise, we will look for some other options. But certainly, if there are some intersections, we can do a warrant analysis, and then we can determine whether this is warranted or not as part of the overall analysis for your neighborhood. And last but not least, we talk about signal improvements at Edgewater and Fairbanks. Now, this intersection belongs to the DOT, and with any major reconstruction, which it can be in the $500,000 to $1 million, depending on the type of improvements, definitely the DOT will have a say-so. However, we were looking in terms of what can we do in the meantime that is cost-effective, something that perhaps it doesn't require a lot of reconstruction and that we can do it within the existing equipment. We will have to talk to the DOT, but some of the things that we would like to consider and we would like to present to you is modify signal timing to increase the duration for the heavier movements during the peak hours, whether you're coming from Edgewater or you're coming from Fairbanks, just to make sure that we allocate more time so people, instead of being tempted to go through your neighborhood, that they know that the signal can carry them through the intersection to their destination. The other thing is to change the lane designations to facilitate the demand for heavier movements to improve signal efficiency, and I will show you what I mean by that on the next slide. And then to complement existing detection with advanced detection to reduce delay. Currently, the existing detection is only at the stop bar, so of course, if the stop bars is just for through traffic and you're coming from Edgewater trying to make a right turn onto Fairbanks, it's not going to detect that. So the advanced detection can detect that. And then the long term is something that we can talk to the DOT, but this will be years in the making, but there might be some potential options for the future. So let's take a look at the picture right here that you see. So this is Edgewater. Fairbanks is to the right, so there is a left turn that this is to the business. Now this left turn occupy a lot of space, so with the volume that we have for traffic going through, you have two lanes of traffic going through. Unfortunately, if you want to make a right turn, which you have a free right turn slip lane, but if traffic is backing up, blocking this right turn, it means that already we lost the ability for the traffic. And if you have heavy right turns, already that traffic is going to be on queue, and that is not a good option. So maybe talking to the DOT and see what we can do with the signal timing. Maybe this is going to be a right turn only or something that we can experiment. Similar thing for the left turn lane coming from Fairbanks, making a left turn, traveling southbound on Edgewater, what we can do. So certainly there are some options that we can consider for the existing signal timing. I cannot tell you what it is, but we can establish conversations with the DOT, but wanted to tell you that this is also on the table for the discussion. So more conversations, we will have to talk to them. So we have presented to you 4 options in terms of, so let's just recap, and then we're going to go get into the nitty gritty in terms of what we're going to be presenting for you. So we talk about adding additional speed humps to the ones that you already have. We have talked about looking at changing some of the traffic patterns, perhaps from a two-way to a one-way, and maybe restricting some of the exit or entrances in terms of having a physical barrier, having an island that will prevent some of the cut-through traffic. We also have been talking about some of the multi-way stop control, this is something that we can talk about in terms where does it make sense, and then the last but not least will be some of modifications to the signals. So if you see, what we are presenting to you is from the least restrictive to the most restrictive, and then there is going to be a combination in terms of the multiple options that we have. So as I was mentioning in the beginning, this is not all or nothing, and also we will talk about the implementation, because we can phase it. We can do it in stages, so your community will have the option to experience firsthand with something that is just temporary. We can analyze it. We can wait for 3 or 4 weeks. We can get the feedback from the community. So at the end of the day, whatever is finally decided by the community as the ultimate improvement for cut-through traffic, for traffic calming, and for safety, that this is something that your community have decided and you're willing to live with. So let's just go through the different options. So the first option, as you can see, so this is your neighborhood. What you see with the blue dots is where you have your existing speed humps. So you have 2 on Shorecrest and you have 1 on Sherrington. We show you pictures of 2 of them. But the other thing is, what can we do? Can we install some additional speed humps at key strategic locations? For instance, can we install 1 at the entrance of John Place if you're coming from Edgewater? Can we do 1 also on Sherrington if you're coming from Edgewater? Then entering Coronado if you're coming from Fairbanks, can we do 2? And then can we do another one on Biltmore? And then can we do 2 additional ones on Shorecrest? So in essence, we're going from 3 to 10. So we are adding some additional speed humps. So there is no change at all in terms of the way that you travel through your neighborhood. Still, this is a 2-way road, but you will have these speed humps. So this should deter some of the cut-through traffic and also should help with some of the speeding through your neighborhood. So this is option 1 for your consideration. Now the location of these speed humps, this is just a schematic. We know that there are some unintended consequences that wherever you place a speed hump, we usually try to place it between property lines. There is some additional noise, and there might be an unintended consequence. So, of course, it will have to be discussed through the community. We don't need to have 7. We can have less. But this is one of the options that we wanted to present to you in terms of giving additional speed humps. The next one is a combination. So this is a little bit more sophisticated. So this is not adding additional speed humps, so just using the existing 3 that you have. So let me just carry you through in terms of the navigation. So when you see the yellow lines, it means that this is still an existing 2-way. So this is based on the existing condition, how you navigate through your neighborhood. However, when you see the green line with the arrows, we are starting to go with the 1-way. So let's start from Edgewater. So from Edgewater, we are indicating that instead of people coming through, if they want to go to Fairbanks, that they cannot come through John Place. Now, this is only exit, however, and this doesn't represent, if you have a driveway on John Place, you can still connect, but for the exiting, there's going to be only one exit. There is going to be a raised island for the entrance, and then there is going to be a sign that it says, do not enter. So for traffic that is trying to enter through John Place, it's not going to be possible. This is just an exit only. But if you live on John Place, still you're going to be able to connect. This is not depicting it accurately, but you're going to be able to connect and to navigate. Now, if you are continuing traveling northbound towards the intersection, yes, for Sherrington, you can enter through. But this is going to be a one-way entry, so there's not going to be an exit. So the hope is that if you are so close to the intersection, you might just try to go through the intersection and to connect to Fairbanks, especially if we make some signal improvements. So we are hoping that this is also an option in terms of existing speed humps, but changing some of the traffic patterns, and then going to Fairbanks, the only way that you can access is through Coronado. So if you are traveling westbound and you were tempted to cut through Coronado and just come into John Place, you're not going to be able to do that because this is an exit only. There is going to be a raised island blocking traffic from entrance. There's going to be signs saying do not enter. So you will have to continue traveling westbound, and then you can enter through Shorecrest through the neighborhood. However, if you are so close to the intersection, the rationale or the incentive is for people just to continue coming to the intersection. So this is one of the options, and this is in terms of the benign, that using the existing speed humps and changing some of the traffic patterns. And then the next one that is also using the existing speed humps but a little bit more complex is that we also to continue changing the one-way pattern, and that is Sherrington will be only a one-way. So in other words, for traffic that is still are trying to navigate through your neighborhood, we are making it a little bit more restrictive. So still the same thing, if they come through Sherrington, and if they wanted to use Sherrington to connect to Coronado, now they're going to have to either make a left turn and to come to Fairbanks, or they're going to have to navigate through your neighborhood in order to be able to go through Coronado, which that is going to be a long detour out of their way. So this is something that we would like to present to you. Of course, there's going to be some raised islands and do not enter signs. So a little bit more restrictive, which also is going to create a little bit more, challenges for you to navigate through your neighborhood if you would like to entertain this option. So let's go now to option 3A. So option 3A is a combination of we still use the existing speed humps, but we add the remaining of the speed humps throughout your neighborhood, so you still will have 10 throughout, and then we will continue doing the restriction in terms of the access management. So this is the more benign. So we will have the exiting along John Place, we will have the entrance on Sherrington, we will have the exit on Coronado, we will have the raised islands, but you will have the option that you have the additional 7 speed humps. So with this, it is a little bit more complex, but at the same time, perhaps for people just trying to navigate, this can be even a more cost for deterrent. And the last but not least is just the big, the throw it all, so to speak. So you have all the additional speed humps, you have all the additional one-way traffic throughout the whole neighborhood with the raised islands, and this is the more complex in terms of what we can do. What we wanted to tell you before we go through the options is that this doesn't have to be an all or nothing. Part of the strategy that we will talk about is that we can use pilot projects. So for instance, if we are going to be restricting traffic, we can put some drums and we can put some signs and we can restrict the traffic. We can put some signs in terms of the one-way, so we can simulate. It can be a dry run or a mock experiment in terms of how we are, and that can give you the flexibility. So we have 2 more slides, and then we will be open for questions. So what do we do from here? So you have seen the various alternatives. The key to the success of this speeding, cut-through traffic, and safety for your neighborhood is that it has to be a holistic approach for the whole neighborhood. That will be the success, because if we only do it on one street, but we don't do it on the others, traffic is just like water. If you block something, traffic will try to look for the path of least resistance, and it will find its way. So the next steps will be for us to send a survey, and Gerald will be in charge of that, and she will explain a little bit more to all the residents, asking for your preferred option. I think that we will send also, as part of the petitions, copies of all the options so they can talk about it. And once we send the petition, then we'll have the option to confirm what is your selection as part of the traffic calming and the locations for the improvements if you would like to tweak. Then once we have received your feedback, then we will have an action plan that we will send to you. We will put together a dry run. I don't know if we will need to have another meeting to something to convey to you, but that will pretty much, based on the input that we have from you, we will have a sketch in terms of what is going to be the implementation. And as I said, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, so we can have an iterative approach, and then we can get some feedback based on the traffic counts, based on your impressions, based on the traffic. So we will have some traffic counts, we will have some speeding measures that we have. Once we have assessed the dry run results, we will summarize that information, and we will present that information to the community. So definitely we will need to have another meeting just to make sure that we are all on the same page, that whatever it was decided and whatever we implemented as part of the pilot project or the dry run, that you are in agreement, and that we have, so to speak, the approval from the community, of course, talking with the commissioner. And then there is a process that we will have to go through in terms of going to the BCC and the determination going forward in terms of the installation. We will need to talk about identifying funding sources. We believe that this can be, depending on what option we are talking about, it can be in the estimates between $25,000 to $50,000 to $70,000 in terms of what we decide. So definitely there's going to be a cost associated with it. We will submit this information before we proceed with the installation. We need to go to the BCC, moving forward with the construction, with the funding, and then we will develop a construction schedule. So that is the end of the presentation, and now we would like to open it up for questions, for comments. I don't know how you would like to handle it, Commissioner Bonilla. And I have Gerald Marks, that he's our project manager, which he will be able to give you a little bit more specific information in terms of how do we go about with the process.
Okay, Berto, if you could leave your slides up just in case we have any questions that we have to go through the slides.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so if anyone has any questions, we do have a Q&A chat option here that you can ask some questions. We've already had some questions come in that I was sort of answering. I was kind of mostly telling people wait till the end of the presentation. Another way you can ask a question is by raising your hand, and I can go ahead and unmute you. Please be aware that we only have about 15 to 20 minutes left of the meeting. So if you're going to ask any questions audibly, or I'm going to unmute you, please try to keep your questions short so that we can get everyone's questions answered. So I will go ahead and start with the ones that were typed in. So someone was asking about Orange County Sheriff's Office committing to increased presence. So I know that communities can request coverage at the community's cost, especially if they have an HOA. Umberto, do you have any more information on this that we could provide to them?
Yes, we have a contact number that Gerald can provide. Gerald?
Yeah, so what we do in a lot of cases when we take the speed studies, we'll do the speed studies and look at the volume and look at the speeds of traffic. And with the excessive speeds, we share those with the sheriff's office. And they can't commit to a schedule, but they can show more presence there. And they really won't tell you when they're going to come. It's depending on their availability and their schedules. But yes, we will do that, and that does work in the short interim.
Yeah, what I wanted to tell you is that unfortunately the sheriff's office, they're strapped for resources, and sometimes they are not, as expedient as you would like them to be, because then they're going through the whole county. But yes, but somebody will come. And that is an option.
But with sometimes the difficulty about with using the sheriff's office, it's effective, but people have wisened up to that a little bit because there's an app called Waze or other things that tells you where the sheriffs are. So sometimes it works for those people who aren't using the apps, but sometimes tech-savvy people, they kind of read the apps and know that, hey, there's a sheriff sitting here, and then give up one thumbs if you pass by the sheriff and see him. So, that's something to consider as well.
Okay.
All right. A couple of the other questions were suggestions on the one-ways and two-ways. So I'm going to read these so that they're on the record. For access management option 2A, I would recommend changing Joan PL to the neighborhood entrance and Sherrington be a neighborhood exit only. This is based on the second most popular cut through being Edgewater to Sherrington to Coronado. And I did respond to this question saying that they may like the option 3B, which is closer to that suggestion. Someone else did ask if the presentation is going to be available to download. This is being recorded, and we will be able to provide a link to the recording in the materials that we're going to send out with these different options, looking for feedback. Another suggestion on the one-way, two-way is, could it be considered to switch to two-way traffic on Shorecrest to Sherrington to one-way? There are 6 houses impacted. Yeah.
Yeah, what suggestions do you have? So this is something that we just came up that we wanted to present to you, but we're willing to consider whatever you have as part. So that will be part of your response whenever we send this information, so we will evaluate. So yes, absolutely. This could be modified.
Okay. Someone did provide, it said president. Oh, so I guess the contact information to maybe the president of the HOA. And someone says, how does this tie into the sidewalk project? I've been getting questions about that. Well, this kind of came out of the sidewalk project because I was getting a lot of feedback of people who wanted sidewalks. Some I think there was one person who didn't want sidewalks, and then the sidewalk project was canceled due to funding. And so trying to find a resolution to what the base problem was, which was traffic calming and safety, I reached out to Humberto to see if he could put together a study and see what other options there are. But I will let Humberto respond to where we may or may not be, I'll say, with the sidewalk project.
Yes, the sidewalk program comes out of engineering. So Raymond Williams will be the one, and they have different funding. So what we are presenting to you, this is only related to traffic. I know that there are some questions because you are walking your dogs or riding your bikes within the roadway. So that is an issue. For the sidewalk to be installed, Commissioner Bonilla, if you can contact Raymond Williams, because this will have to be engineered, and definitely the cost is going to be in the hundreds. I mean, I don't know, perhaps in the hundreds of thousands, depending throughout the whole neighborhood. I know that it has been discussed as part of previous conversations. However, I don't have the authority to talk about the program or the funding. So Raymond Williams will be the one to contact for the sidewalk. But regardless whether the sidewalk it is installed or not, soon we can continue with the traffic calming program at a faster pace.
If someone said that if we send this information to the president, they could have another meeting to discuss with the neighborhood. And then someone did ask about the sidewalk project canceled due to many calls against it. My office received about 3 supportive emails and 1 against it. Have compact roundabouts at the intersections been considered?
Yeah, that's something that we can look at to better help with the traffic flow and slow vehicles down as they're approaching the small mini roundabouts. We also have to look at how much space we have, the availability of right-of-way, and how much room it would actually take to construct one of these smaller traffic circles. And then also, like when we're trying to squeeze it into these large intersections, we have to realize that delivery trucks, waste disposal trucks, and school buses sometimes have a hard time navigating those when there's insufficient right-of-way, insufficient space. So yeah, that's something we definitely can consider and look at.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Bonilla. If the community has some suggestions where they would like to see those traffic circles, so we can start looking at some of the right-of-way, and just to make sure with this, of course, there is some drainage issues, but that can be an option. If right-of-way becomes an issue, then it will take a longer time because there will have to be dedication and purchase of the right-of-way. So what we are doing is just within existing right-of-way, something that we can do quick, take control, and address the need as fast as possible.
Was it determined our road is to be repaved?
Yes. Marisela Torres, she is the manager for roads and drainage. So they do have a cycle in terms of the pavement condition. There are certain things for consideration. Number 1 is the physical condition of the roadway. If you see a lot of alligator cracks, if you see a lot of potholes, if you see a lot of oxidation, so that is number 1. I saw some alligator cracks. I don't know if this is to the extent that they need to be resurfaced. My suggestion, Commissioner Bonilla, if you can contact Marisela Torres and see if the roads within this neighborhood, where they are in terms of the resurfacing program. That is one. So, and once you do it, it makes sense. Like Gerald, how many? Gerald is an expert in terms of replacing speed humps. If you can tell them about how many speed humps you did for resurfacing roads.
Yeah, so just last year, I think we did about 84 replacement for speed humps. So when the roads get resurfaced, the Roads and Drainage Department, they'll notify us that the road is on the repaving list. And what we'll do is after the Roads and Drainage has given us the all complete when the roads are completed and the work has been accepted by the county from the contractor, we'll schedule that road for reinstallation of the speed humps. So yeah, that's an ongoing process that we work with through roads and drainage. We work together on that. So, but yeah, it's definitely something that that can be checked into, whether the roads are on schedule or on this year's or next year's repaving lists. That way that, we don't put brand new speed humps in or resurface them, and then 6 months later the county comes back and resurface the road and they need to be put back in. So we definitely have to coordinate that effort.
So there are a lot of comments about the sidewalks, saying that there was actually a petition too that was sent in. That must have been sent in to the engineers. I did not receive that. But I will say that this presentation here is about alternative options to sidewalks. Sidewalks is not in our budget. It's something, if we ever get there, it's a discussion for another time. But right now we're just looking at traffic calming and safety improvements for the concerns for the children who are walking around this neighborhood to school and such. Oh, and there was also a question about a development. I am just not going to cover that here because we do have community meetings for developments. So right now, again, I just want to discuss the safety improvements here. So I'm going to go through, see if I find any more questions. I know there was one about the shallow swales are not currently maintained. Is that Public Works that needs to be contacted? Yes, that is. And I'm trying to copy all of these things down so that I can follow up on these later on, because I will reach out to Public Works about that. If there's anything that I may forget to cover or that's not related to this that you guys need, you can always go to my website, emilybonilla.com. There's a contact page on there that you could put things in there, like maybe the swales are not being maintained or anything like that. And I will have staff look into that. That's the best way to contact my office for any issues that you may have and that for us to look into. So I am going to go ahead and open it up for anyone who would like to speak. Again, please don't take up too much time. Okay, I just unmuted James McFartridge.
Hey, Emily, how are you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
Thank you very much, and thanks to Umberto for the presentation. Obviously, I've been here 33 years. This is something that's probably number one in terms of quality of life here. I think I can speak for everybody on my street. Without going on too long, there's really two neighborhoods, because those of us in the front part of the neighborhood are the ones that primarily are impacted by the traffic. So this is all great. But the thing is, I've seen the one-way. I don't know how much experience you all have with one-way traffic, but if, people aren't going to, if they don't get tickets, they're not going to abide by it. So you went through that, but, I know that the Orange County Sheriff's Office is a completely different realm. So that's probably the main thing. I don't think this is going to work without a commitment from them. But as we said, also the thing that I've been getting the most questions about is the sidewalks project, and we would like to have a meeting just like this one for the sidewalks. Can you arrange that, please?
If we ever get to the point where they're considering that, then I'll have a meeting on it. I just don't feel that right now we need to, because it's not something that's going to happen anytime soon.
Well,
if the county staff starts thinking about that, then I'd rather have it closer to that decision time than having it maybe like 2 years out. Because I really don't know when that will ever happen.
That kind of leaves us in limbo, though, because we don't know what people have been asking me. What's going on with the sidewalks? Or is it still a thing? I noticed that they built the ones across the street by that property. I don't know the name of that street. I can't see it right now. I noticed they just finished them.
Yeah, well, I will definitely tell you that if the community is against it, they would rather not move forward with it unless it was like a really strong argument for safety.
Well, that seems like a conflict, because here we are talking about traffic, and you'd think that the sidewalks, but I can tell you that most of the folks that are going to be impacted by that in our neighborhood don't want them. They really don't.
Okay.
We could do a petition. The problem with that is that you're telling us we got to get 75% signatures in the neighborhood. Well, it should be 75% of the impacted property owners, not the entire neighborhood, because quite frankly, most of the people that live across the street, with the exception of my neighbors who live across my street who are not going to be impacted, most of the people really aren't going to care. So we'd kind of like the county to say, okay, we are officially canceling this. Or
again, I would really like to, because I really don't know if that's ever going to happen, the sidewalks. So it's just at this point, it's a mute topic because it may not happen. So let's focus on this and we're working on right now.
We do appreciate it. I know everybody feels the same way that's on the call. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute Paige Clements. If you want to be unmuted, please raise your hand. Okay. Go ahead, Paige.
Hi, thank you so much for having this. This feels kind of like Christmas morning with all the different options of things that we can do. So it's fantastic for our little community. Regards to the speed humps, the lakeside does not have a need for them. Is there a possibility to actually move more of those speed bumps to the parts of the streets on Sherrington and Shorecrest North that would be more impacted by that? I mean, like to double up, triple up on those roads? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely. Well, not maybe double up, because we have standards that we need to follow. New standards came out that each one should be placed about 450 feet apart. Sometimes we can go a little bit less than that, but just like they slow down vehicles, placed too closely together, they could slow down fire and emergency rescue. So we try to be careful as far as the placement wise. So yeah, we can definitely look at moving them off of the streets that are less impacted by the cut through traffic, and moving them into areas that are have more of the cars coming through on Sherrington and Coronado.
And Shorecrest, that little short end of Shorecrest North right there, right by Fairbanks, that one right there is pretty impactful. Okay, so the second question that I had was in regards to the concrete in the middle to try to make it more of a one-way. I don't quite have said that right, but is there a way to actually incorporate that without making it a one-way, to put sort of like a little median in the middle to make it hard for cars to turn off of Fairbanks onto Shorecrest, to slow that? They cut that corner pretty hard. If there is a way to kind of make them unable to cut that corner but still turn onto that road, that would slow them down significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. We can look at something like a directional median, or like narrowing the entrance. So when vehicles come in, they would have to pay particular attention to slow down to navigate the turn. So yeah, something like making their a directional median opening, or putting curb up on one side so cars don't come in so fast. So they have to actually pay attention when they come in. Absolutely, that's not a possibility. Let me write that down.
And then the third one I had was the possibility of a roundabout on the interior at that Shorecrest and Sherrington intersection. Is that a possibility if there's enough space in there?
Yeah, we would have to look at it. Look at where our current right-of-way is, where the county's current right-of-way is, and look at some of the drainage patterns that are in there, because we do realize there's swells in there. And one thing, we can't fill in the swells because it'll create a drainage issue. But absolutely, that's something that we can look at to find out if we have, to determine if we have sufficient right-of-way to construct that.
So, Gerald, what is going to be the next step in terms of sending this information to the community and also giving them enough space so then we can get their feedback? So what is going to happen next?
All right, so right now, what we'd like to do is, like this presentation, make it available to everyone. So there are several ways we can do it. Like, we can send out a link so you can get this information and discuss it amongst yourself. That would be the easiest way, and we can get the information. And then, like, in 2 weeks, I can talk to whoever would be the champion for the neighborhood and, see if there are any changes that they would like to make to some of the options. I'm sorry?
Is there a possibility before you send that information out that we can have some of those questions answered? Those are going to be some of the main questions that are going to be asked. I think, just having been part of the community, if we answer those beforehand, we might have more information for the community?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can send the questions to me. My address or my email address, is it on?
Yes, it is part of the presentation.
Yeah, so it's part of the presentation. So myself or Humberto, we will field any of the questions and get those responses back over to you.
Humberto, could you change the screen to the slide with the contact information?
Yeah, and that, and also.
Sorry, I was talking and I was muted again. Paige, do you have any more questions?
No, I suspect that we're probably going to rally the troops, ask some questions, and probably give, would that be Humberto, a call to kind of talk through a couple of things, if that's okay?
Yes, you actually can call me, but your main point of contact will be Gerald Marks, because he is the project manager and he will be the one implementing this. Certainly you can call me anytime, but for faster results in terms of the actual implementation, it will be Gerald Marks.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
You're welcome.
Okay, Paige, I'm going to mute you if you don't have any more questions. I have someone else who's raised their hand as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, this is Jacqueline Harmeling. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, thank you all for taking the time to meet with us. I'm on the same page with the rest of them. I am the president of the HOA, and I had sent you in our conversation all of my information so that you can send to me via email or anything the link to this meeting, and then I can forward it to those in our community. And then you kind of already answered one of my questions, which was, what do we do from here in order to get people the information they need and get feedback back to you? So I think between Paige, who was just speaking, and myself, will probably take care of talking to you, Gerald, just directly to get a better game plan so that we can help direct the community on which might be the best options.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, like, once you have the game plan and, like, once you've asked me all the questions that you had, and we get a pretty good, comfortable feel, I'm looking at about 2 weeks sending out ballots to all the homeowners with all the options. And, like, if we have to make changes to any of the options, we can do that and send it out with the link as well, alerting the neighborhood that there's been changes. And this is what the new change. These are what the new changes are. But I'll send ballots out to all of the homeowners, so all the come to an agreement on the best option or the one that has the most votes.
So in this 2-week time frame, it would probably be best to call a meeting so that everybody can give their input. We can get that to you before any ballots are started, correct?
Yes, that would be best. Because, you know, if anyone has any changes that they would like to see or something additional added, I can send that information out as well. I can make those changes and send that information out as well.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Bonilla. So I was wondering, since you all have some changes that you want to make, it probably could be, I'll just say maybe cost effective and time efficient for us to maybe if we do a digital survey to start off with before we send out the physical ballots. Would that be something you'd be interested in, Jacqueline?
I think that would probably be great for the community, yes.
That way we could do the digital survey, get some things finalized and worked out, and then we could do the physical ballots.
Yes. Now, how, so would that be something that you'd send to me and then I would blanket the neighborhood?
Yes,
or,
we can.
Okay.
Yeah, so we could put it together. We could send it to some of the people registered on here, but it'd be more helpful if you help get that link out to people.
Okay. I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, Humberto, does that sound good to you?
Yes, it sounds good to me. So for the digital survey, then we need to work with your staff?
Yeah, you could work with me on that.
Oh, okay, very good.
All right. I just think that would be, since there might be some changes that they want, that might be the best way to go about it before you have a print out all those ballots, and it's not as flexible. All right. Any other questions? I did try to get everything copied down, at least from the chat. I know we did have another question. I'll send this to Humberto, a copy of this.
I had also sent you a text saying that I was going to send you that poll that we had done here. We took it upon ourselves to do a poll, which I sent out, but you weren't copied on that. So I want to make sure that you have that in your hands for the sidewalks, just in case anything does come about in the future. At least you will have, because I had 64 people sign against it. But I also know that there are people, like James was saying, that live right there where they're directly affected and have a different opinion. So a lot of the inferior people are, of course, not wanting their properties changed and encroached on for sidewalks that wouldn't be used necessarily.
I know someone said, I live on Coronado and people speed through our street. We need the speed bumps.
I live on that street too, and I have an 8-year-old and 10-year-old, and yeah, it's been a little sketchy for their youth. It's a blind curve, so people kind of come around the curves, and there's trees on one side. It's kind of a darker area too. Definitely, I think a lot of the main roads, Coronado, Sherrington, Shorecrest, Joan, very major roads that I think most people in the community would say, absolutely, we need speed bumps at the very least, and probably heavy traffic speed bumps.
Okay. Well, you did mention it being dark. I don't know what your lighting is like out there, what you would like, but that's something else that could be, I know in other communities we've introduced additional lighting for safety reasons. So,
okay. Yeah.
Umberto,
I don't know if you could probably look at that as well.
Yes, on that one, we need to talk to Raymond. I know that there is not enough funding, but certainly we can take a look at the intersections. I don't know about the whole roadway, but the intersections is something that we consider. So that might be part of the discussion moving forward.
Also, what you can do, if there's existing lighting there, you can contact your service provider. And a lot of times these neighborhoods use the low, high-pressure sodium lights, and those lights could be changed to LEDs. But there's a process that you go through your service provider. I know Duke has one process. I'm not sure about the other processes for other providers. But yeah, that can improve some of the lighting there from the high-pressure sodium yellowish-looking light to the LED whiter light, and it uses less energy as well.
Okay, so and that would be through OUC?
Is that your provider there in that area?
Yes, OUC is.
Yes, you will have to contact them. Yes, OUC.
Okay.
Umberto, if you want to leave some last words of what the next steps are, and then we could go ahead and end the meeting.
Very well. So just to summarize, Commissioner Bonilla, Gerald, and I, we're going to be working on the survey that we're going to be sending to the community. Also, Commissioner Bonilla is going to be sending us all your questions so we can be entertaining some of those modifications to the options that we have presented. After we get the survey, then we will make the modifications and then send the ballots for your consideration. So we are talking about 2 to 3 weeks in terms of the process, but it was a very productive meeting. Thank you so much for your patience and for your time, and we will make sure that we address your traffic concerns and safety needs. Thank you so much.
So thank you everyone for your time and consideration of all these options, and we look forward to following up with you. All right, so this meeting has been recorded. If there isn't any more questions or comments, we can go ahead and end the meeting. And there are some people saying thank you. You're welcome. All right, thank you everyone. Have a good evening.